everybody, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all our Muslim viewers. Welcome back to my kitchen. So today, as you know, in a few days time we'll be celebrating the holy day of Eid, and usually on Eid day it's tradition, or some homes at least it's tradition, to have a lekker biryani for lunch. Biryani consists of 4 components when we're creating the meal. The first one is prep. Prep is very important when it comes to biryani. If you have your prep going, your biryani is easy peasy. The second part is marinating the chicken or your meat, whichever one you are going to use. Your third part is putting it all together, and your fourth part is letting it steam when the whole dish comes together. Okay, biryani is one of those dishes that can be made the night before, because it's one of those dishes that's really nice if it stands. The flavors just pull through a bit more, but you can also make it on the day. If you are using lamb, it's best to always marinate your meat the night before, but today we're doing chicken, and chicken we can actually get away with doing it on the day. So first and foremost, biryani prep, and I'm going to go through prep with you. So this is 5 large onions over here. So what you do with your onions is you slice it in half, you slice it in long little bits of slices, and you fry them in oil until they're golden brown. To get them crispy, I usually drain them on newspaper and then roller towel. So what I do is I put down a piece of newspaper, I put down a piece of roller towel on top of the newspaper, so your onions are actually draining on the roller towel, but the newspaper just helps absorb that extra oil. So at the end of the day, you're left with a crispy, crunchy onion, and one of the bases of the biryani is having onion. Okay, then we're going to go down to potatoes. What is a curry or a nice pot of food without yummy, soft potatoes? And potatoes usually needs to show off. So the potatoes in biryani are in between soft potato, but crunchy on the outside. So our potato we usually fry beforehand. These are 5 potatoes that I just cut into wedges. The trick to this basically is that the smaller they are, obviously they're going to cook much quicker. I did boil them in some water with some salt and some bori just to give them some color. You can use turmeric. And then I fried them in some oil just to get crispy. If you do have an air fryer, you can coat them with some oil and you can pop them into the air fryer or into the oven, as long as they've got that little crispy bits around the potato. Prep number 1. Before we start with biryani, I should have actually started with this first, lentils. So as you know, we usually have to pre-cook lentils, but I have a cheat. I soak my lentils the night before in boiling water. If you soak your lentils the night before in boiling water, you can actually just give them one boil with the rice. You don't have to spend half an hour or 15 minutes boiling them before the time. If you soak them in boiling water the night before, you'll find that the water will be a bit stodgy and brown the next morning. All you do is throw off that water, rinse them under clean water, and set them aside. I'm making chicken biryani today. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? So chicken biryani today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some boiled egg in it just as an accompaniment. Also goes very nice with biryani or pilau. And then one of the bases of our dish is actually rice. So I've got 3 cups of rice over here. What I'm going to do with the rice is I'm going to rinse it. I'm going to boil it in a pot of water. 3 cups of rice with 3 cups of water, 3 level teaspoons salt, a pinch of bori just to add some color, and I'm actually going to chuck the lentils in with the rice so that I can boil it, and then once that water is evaporated, we are ready to go to set our rice aside. So prep 101, overnight your lentils in boiling water, and then the next morning you're going to rinse it out, set it aside. You're going to prep your potato, which is either boiling them in a little bit of bori or deep frying them as is. We just need a crunchy roast potato. Onions, I've used 5 large ones. We're just going to deep fry them in oil also, because we need a crispy onion. And then obviously our 3 cups of rice with water. We're going to parboil them. We're not cooking them completely. So 3 cups of rice, 3 cups of water, 3 level teaspoons of salt, a pinch of bori, and we can add our lentils with our rice. Give it 1 boil just to parboil. Rinse it in cold water. So we're going to stop the cooking process, and then we're going to set it aside to cool. As well as the eggs, we're going to boil them, we're going to peel them, we're going to set it aside to cool. So this is your biryani prep. Part number 2 of biryani is doing the chicken marinade. And I'm marinating chicken today because we're making chicken biryani. But if you are using lamb, just remember the ingredients stay exactly the same. We are just going to marinate it the night before, because lamb, you want that extra tender meat to fall off the bone. So with lamb, we're going to marinate the night before, but the chicken, you can marinate it the night before, but I'm just getting away with it this morning because chicken usually cooks a bit faster. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to go through the ingredients and then we can take it from there. So the first ingredient that I'm going to go through with you is yogurt. This is 2 cups of yogurt. I've used double cream yogurt, but if you prefer using buttermilk in your biryani, then you can use buttermilk. Then I've got 4 grated tomatoes. You can grate it, you can liquidize it, whichever way works fine with you. I would suggest though use fresh tomatoes. It gives a deeper flavor and a thicker curry than you will be when you're using tin tomatoes. So you can use tin tomatoes, there's nothing wrong with it, but I would prefer you using fresh tomatoes, especially for this recipe. It pairs with the buttermilk or the yogurt very, very well. Then I've been using 1 sachet of tomato paste, 1 heaped tablespoon of ginger and garlic. I just chop up some green chili with my ginger and garlic. I'm using 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using 2 teaspoons of jeera, which is your cumin, your fine cumin. I'm using 1 teaspoon of kuljana, which is your fine coriander. I'm using 1 teaspoon of tandoori spice. This is my Sprinkles tandoori spice, my brand. However, you can use any tandoori spice you get in your store, your local supermarket, but just make sure it's the red tandoori spice. I'm using 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and I'm using 1 heaped teaspoon of garam masala. On this side, I'm using garnish, which would be your fresh chopped up coriander or your dhania, and then 1 green pepper. Yes, I know green pepper doesn't usually go into biryani, but I promise you the flavor it adds in your food is amazing. So please try it and let me know. Coming back to the garam masala over here, you'll notice that in my biryani, I don't use any whole spices. When I talk about whole spices, I'm talking about cardamom or cinnamon stick. They do add a lot of flavor. But when you look at your biryani and you have your rice and your onion and your potato and your lentils, the last thing you want is to bite on a cardamom and have that taste in your mouth. I call it food spoilers, and your dish is spoiled completely. Then you klaar eet. So what I usually do is I use garam masala. This is my own blend. I blend it and grind it down myself, but it does have cardamom in. Like most garam masalas, it has cardamom, it has cinnamon, it has your whole spices. So instead of using the stockies or the whole spices, I use the fine one. Then you know when you are cooking, you're getting no surprises. So there's 2 ways to marinate your chicken. Either we're going to chuck everything into the bowl. I just find it a bit neater if I work in one bowl, mix it together, then I know everything is mixed together well, and then add it on my chicken. So bismillah, I'm starting with my double cream yogurt. I'm going in with that. Like I said, we can use buttermilk too, or low fat yogurt, whichever one you prefer. And then I'm going to go in with my garlic and ginger. And now I'm going to go in with my tomato paste. And then I'm going to go in with my salt over here. And I'm going to go in with my turmeric, my tandoori spice, my kuljana, which is my fine coriander, my cumin, which is my jeera, my garam masala. Get the last little bits out there. And now I'm going to add in my coriander, which is usually for garnish. You can add it on top, but I just like the taste in the curry. It just does add extra flavor. And then I'm going to add in, this was supposed to be a green pepper, but I see this green pepper had bits of red. But either way, the red ones are just usually a bit sweeter, whichever one works for you. I've got my 4 grated tomatoes left, bismillah, but I'm just going to give this a little mix, just to make sure they're well combined. And once they start mixing through nicely, I'm going to add in my 4 grated tomatoes. Bismillah. You can use grated or liquidized, whichever one works for you. There we go. I'm just going to mix it through. Okay, Okay, so there we go. So our marinade is mixed through really, really nicely. So bismillah. So now I'm going to add it to my chicken. Very importantly, I've got 1 to 1.5 kilos of chicken over here. So it's about 1.5 kilos roughly. Okay, that little bit didn't mix through nicely. So it's 1.5 kilos of chicken over here. Just a little tip. For the recipe, I say 1 to 2 kilos of chicken. So if you are using 1 kilo chicken, you're going to go with 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons as I indicated when I went through the ingredients. But if you're using 2 kilos or more, if it's 2 kilos, we're going to go with a heap teaspoon. And if it's going to be 3 kilos or more, we're going to go with tablespoons. So the quantity stays the same, or the ratio stays the same rather, but the teaspoon and the tablespoon will change. So bismillah, here we go. Okay, so there we go. Everything is mixed through really, really nicely. So like I said, if you were going to use lamb, you could marinate it exactly the same way, and you're going to leave it overnight. Because we're using chicken, we're going to get away with it and we're going to cook this. But just remember, at the end of this video, please look out for the recipe. It will appear on the screen. So we're ready to put our marinade together and make our chicken biryani masala. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to add some butter and some oil to the pot. So I'm using 4 tablespoons of butter. So bismillah, that's going to go in there. 4 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm going to use just a dash of oil. So I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of butter, a dash of oil, and then I'm going to want this butter to melt and sizzle. And once it starts to sizzle, I'm going to add in my onions. I've roughly chopped up 2 onions, which I'm going to need to braise until it's a golden brown color. And once it's golden brown, I'm going to go in with my marinade. So that's what I'm waiting to do now. Okay, so my butter is sizzling at the moment, and that's what I want, those little bubbles. And I'm going to go in with my 2 onions. Bismillah. There we go. Let's get that last little out. And now I'm going to need these onions to braise until they're a golden brown color. So we're going to wait for that. Okay, so my onions are translucent and they slightly golden brown on the tips, and that's what I want. I don't want them completely golden. So I'm going to go in with the chicken. Bismillah. Okay. Okay, so all my chicken is in, and I'm going to go in with the leftover marinade. So bismillah. There we go, and I'm just going to use the spatula to get all the little bits out. Okay, so I've got my chicken in, I've got my marinade in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it one stir just so that everything mixes through very, very nicely. And then I'm going to put on the lid, and we're going to cook this for 15 minutes. So you can actually just walk away and put it on a low to medium heat, and we're going to let this simmer for 15 minutes, and then after 15 minutes we'll be right back. Okay, so our chicken has been cooking for 15 minutes and it is done. So our chicken isn't completely done, but we're going to continue steaming it, which is the last final step of the biryani. So the oil has slightly come to the top, and the gravy is thickened, and the chicken is half cooked, and that's what you're looking for. So over here I've cooked my rice with a little bit of bori, the salt and the lentils, and it's dried out completely. So I've strained it in cold water and I've allowed it to cool. So now we're going to assemble. So I've got 3/4 of the rice in this bowl, and I've got 1/4 of the rice left over here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start. So bismillah, the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to go in with a potato. So I'm going to be making 2 bowls, but I'm going to show you in this bowl how I'm going to assemble it. So bismillah, I'm going in with the potato. So all we're going to do is we're just going to layer our potato randomly over here, because biryani is all about the layers. There we go. Remember, this is not a traditional biryani. This is my take, but do what works for you. Okay, so now we've got our potato in, and then I'm going to go in with the onion because that adds that extra flavor. There we go. And then I'm going to go in with the boiled egg. So bismillah. Don't worry, I did wash my hands. There we go. We're going in with the boiled egg, and now I'm going to add some chicken. So I'm just going to add some chicken in between. This gravy has thickened very, very nicely. And if you could just smell what's happening over here. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with the rest of the rice. There we go. Okay, I'm going to clean that up now. And then I'm going to go in with some more onion. And now I'm going to throw over some of the sauce. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to end off with a little bit more onions, and I'm going to end off with some chopped up coriander, which is your dhania. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this with double foil, which is 2 layers of foil, and I'm going to put it in the oven for on 180 degrees for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, it will be perfectly done and dried out. Just a little tip. If you did cook your gravy on a higher than low to medium heat, you will have less gravy. Don't panic. All you're going to do is you're going to add an extra cup of water so that it will have that extra liquid to steam. If you do have excess gravy, which is more than usual, remember I showed you on one dish, but the leftover gravy I'm actually going to use to make a second dish. So if you do have excess gravy left over, you can put it in just after your 45 minutes, turn it down to about 120, and you can carry on steaming for another half an hour. Just remember double foil because it locks in all that flavor and adds the extra moisture to steam your meal through. Okay, so we've assembled everything and we are almost ready for our last part, which is steaming in the oven. So if you could just smell what it smells like right now. I'm doing this demo for you guys, but eat better come quick, inshallah. So everything is in here. What we're going to do is we're going to close it with foil, but I'm going to close it with a double layer foil. So bismillah, that's your first layer on. The second layer I'm going to make a bit bigger. Because what you want to do is have everything steam in here very nicely. So I've turned my oven on to 180 degrees and it's going to go into the oven and it's going to come out in 45 minutes, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Just remember, if you are serving this, a day would go well with it. I would add the recipe in the comments for you guys too. So see you guys in a bit. Okay, so our biryani is in the oven, and while it's busy cooking and doing its thing, I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about what I do. I'm the founder of Sprinkles and Spice. I do cooking classes for kids, and my main passion is sharing recipes and tips and cooking secrets with all of you. So my first book I wrote was called Sprinkle Time. It was inspired by those kids that I teach as well as my own kids. It's got easy peasy baking recipes, taking safety precautions as a priority, and basically aiming to mommy and daddy to spend time with little one and creating masterpieces of their own. It's flop proof, it's easy peasy, and yummy enough for after every creation for you to enjoy on the tea table. And then this one over here is inspired by those listeners that I chat to every week. So I'm on Radio 786 every Monday morning at 10:30. I share recipes, tips and secrets. And with that, I realized that there are such a lot of people out there that want to cook, but just want to be talked through the process. Just want to be showed how to do simple things like a curry or a pasta or a soup. So these recipes were written for those people. So easy peasy recipes, simple ingredients you have at home, doesn't take long. I truly believe that memories should be made around the table, and a recipe, cooking shouldn't take hours like it used to do back in the day. to simplify your life even further. As I was going through the recipe, I mentioned the tandoori spice and I spoke about it, and I said I was going to mention it to you or talk to you about it a bit later. So here we go. This is my spice range. All these products are available on my website, and my website is www.sprinklesandspice.co.za. It's got recipes as well as an online store, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and my handle is @sprinklesandspiceCT. So this is my spice range over here. I grind them, blend them, and package them with a lot of love. So the first two I want to chat about is these two. This is my butter chicken spice, and this is my prawn chaat spice. It would be like your prawn curry or your seafood curry. You can use it for any fish, prawn or crayfish. This would be like your traditional butter chicken curry. 3 heaped tablespoons, and you follow the suggested method at the back, and you've got a pot of curry in no time. And then I'm going to move over to these ones over here. When you think of a lovely tandoori tikka chicken on the braai, this is tikka chicken, which you make in the braai or you can make on the oven. 3 heaped tablespoons, and follow the suggested method at the back, and you've got tikka chicken in no time. This is a spice I used in our biryani. It's a tandoori chicken. This would be your all-purpose spice. You can use it in any curry. You can use it to add flavor to anything. I've had do it on chicken, do it on chips, add it in addition to your curry, or use it as your curry's base. This would be our tandoori chicken, which would also be used as your need spice. This one over here is my savory roast chicken. Makes a mean roast chicken, but it is so flavorful that I've had people come to me and tell me that they use it as a chip spice and even a popcorn seasoning. So that would be my roast chicken. Okay, so this is the spice I want to chat to you about today. It is my pepper roast spice. Flavorful mixture of orange pepper, black pepper, white pepper, a bit of garlic and barbecue spice. Perfect for breedies, for roasts, for chops, for steak. But what I want to chat to you about today, especially with Eid coming up, is leg of lamb. There's a little video I'm going to show you at the end of this presentation with the spices, where I show you an easy peasy way on how to make leg of lamb in the oven, flop proof, minimal, and the recipe will be added at the end of the program too. So do look out for it. MMB has got a wonderful combo going on with the spice, where you can actually get the leg and the spice. And gone are the days where you're spending hours in the kitchen stirring that leg and adding water to it. Now we get to do it in the oven and forget about it and carry on with all the other things we need to do. Okay, so we had the biryani in the oven for 45 minutes, and we said a big bismillah and we hope for the best. So now I'm going to open it up and let's see what it looks like. So bismillah. Okay, so mashallah. So we've got a chicken biryani, perfectly cooked. If you could only smell what the flavors smell like right now. Just a little tip for you guys, that if you are making the biryani on Eid morning, just time it for an hour so that you actually have it in the oven. If it rests in the oven while the oven is off for half an hour, it will still be warm when you serve it. If you are making it the night before, you can prep it completely, but in the morning, once it's cooled, we're going to take it out and we're going to have it in the same dish. And what you're going to do is you're going to add 1.5 cups of water. You're going to heat your oven on 200 degrees. Once you put your biryani in, you're going to sprinkle over the 1.5 cups of water. You're going to close it with double foil again. You're going to turn it down to 180 degrees and you're going to warm it in the oven for a half an hour. There you go. Biryani simplified. Like I said, it's not the traditional version, but it's my take, just simplified. Hope you guys have a beautiful Eid, inshallah, and make lots of memories and celebrate it with all your loved ones. And Eid Mubarak from me to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.